Alright guys, I'm hanging on by a thread, so is my fucking computer apparently, so if after this video I'm just gonna have to shut my damn computer down. It's fucking trash. But we are here to talk about The Walking Dead. We're also gonna be talking about Trick or Treat today. This is the fifth episode of season 4, Internment. This is the episode where pretty much everything goes to shit at the prison. Yeah, we're just gonna get through the plot and what people think about it. Yeah. So inside the quarantine A block, conditions continue to worsen for those affected by the deadly virus. You know, people are just kind of going through the phases of the sickness and whatnot. I don't know why I'm not like fully in the frame. If I go down like this, I'm like cut off. So I might just do this because who cares about my sign in the background? It's just for lighting, really. Herschel tends to the patients while with the aid of Sasha and Glenn. So Sasha and Glenn are sick, and they kind of volunteer to help Herschel out with some of the sick people. Herschel starts closing everybody's cell doors, following the advice of the dying Dr. Subramanium, and kills those who succumb to the virus away from the others' view so they don't have to see it. Obviously, they've seen like walkers die and stuff like that. They're no innocent people. They've been dealing with a zombie apocalypse for a while. Rick returns to the prison and informs Maggie, who had been clearing a large herd of walkers at the fence, about banishing Carol for killing two of their own. So he's starting to tell people. He gets back, she's like, "Where's Maggie?" And Rick kind of tells her what he had to do, in that she killed Karen and David, so obviously she had to get punished, and he doesn't want to be around her, just plain and simple. She's not really that good of a person for doing something like that. That kind of set him on edge about his opinion on her. But yeah, let's see. After Herschel is told, he returns to the cell block where he discovers an unconscious Sasha, whom he revives, leaving a cell with a female walker open. So the walker apocalypse kind of starts again for these people, like it did with Philip earlier in the season. When the man who Glenn is manually ventilating dies, Glenn attempts to call for help, but he starts choking on his own blood and passing out, kind of succumbing to the illness, kind of like falling weak to all the symptoms. This isn't an ordinary flu. Obviously, it's very serious. We've kind of seen people go through it, the stages, the symptoms, stuff like that. This is not going to be a very long review episode. I don't really have too much to say about the episode. It's just kind of a catastrophic thing. You kind of just feel bad watching the characters go through everything. It's really fucked up, honestly. Lizzie finds Glenn as the intubated man reanimates as a walker and calls out for Herschel, like he needs to get up there and help, because obviously he cares about Glenn more than damn near everybody up there. Everybody that's sick, obviously Maggie, his daughter, isn't sick, so he doesn't really have to tend to her necessarily, but Glenn and the doctor, he cares about those people. So Lizzie kind of sends out a warning shot, and she's like leading the walker. This alerts the female walker who attacks Herschel. So Herschel's just trying to be the damn hero here, trying to get through everything, kill all the walkers. It's kind of a tough time for him because he's never really had to play hero for the group. And this kind of shows just his character evolution as we go on, like him having to do all of these things. Chaos erupts as the walkers proliferate within the cell block, resulting in casualties to the patients in the block. Herschel kills the zombified Dr. Subramanium to retrieve his weapons to kill the walkers, while Lizzie lures the intubated walker away from Glenn. So Lizzie kind of saves Glenn. I guess Carol, a character we don't really like and respect after what she did to Karen and David, but she's instilled some great values into Lizzie to kind of like survive. You kind of have to. You're in an apocalypse. You kind of have to mature quickly if you're a kid in this situation. So she kind of helps Glenn out. And obviously Herschel reluctantly kills Dr. Subramanium, those two are very good friends because obviously they're both doctors. They're both into the medical world. So yeah. Rick and Maggie hear gunshots from the prison, and Rick tells Maggie to help her father while he enlists his son Carl to help with the fence. So Rick has no idea the extent of the situation in the prison, so he's kind of pushing it to the side. I mean, obviously the walkers outside are really important, they're infiltrating the prison, and they can get in and cause even more damage and pressure the other cell blocks. But I don't know, man. It's crazy. I guess he just didn't know what was going on inside. He could have assumed, I guess. Returning to the side of an unconscious Glenn, Herschel realizes he needs the bag valve mask still strapped to the intubated walker and wrestles it for the bag. He's like laying on the net, you know, Lizzie kind of like, or Herschel kind of like shoves him over there, and he's like laying on this prison net. I think it's in actual prisons, I think it's to prevent prisoners from like jumping off the edge and like killing themselves, I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, I don't know, maybe that's not what that was. Maggie heads to the visitation room, kills the remaining undead, and shoots the intubated walker, allowing Herschel to retrieve the bag for Glenn. Very risky of her, because if she shoots the bag, Glenn probably dies, but it was a risk she had to take, and she realized it was a situation that kind of, had to be made, and she made a good decision, and obviously she kind of cleans up all the scraps and helps her father out any way she can. I mean, obviously he's given her hospitality for all her life, so yeah. Outside, the fence gives way and a horde of walkers get in, so Rick and Carl are kind of in trouble here. Rick and Carl arm themselves with assault rifles and gun them down. You know, they have guns like lining the fences, so they picks them up and just, boom, go after them. Right after they finish, literally right after they get the mob taken care of, the van with Daryl, Michonne, Tyrese, and Bob arrives with the medicine needed for the remaining sick, and Carl reassures her father that they will be all right. This is like a beacon of hope. This group kind of returning kind of shows like, hey, we'll be okay. We can get through this. I like the hope that Carl has. You know, obviously it's like part of him is still a child, and he's like has this naivete to him. But yeah, still, it's good to be hopeful. Tyrese goes and cradles his sister in his arms while Bob goes to administer drugs to Glenn. So right away, these people come back and they just check on everybody, which is great. Tyrese checking on his sister, obviously. He lost Karen. He cannot lose his sister as well. That would not be good. Herschel returns to the cell of Dr. Subramium, opening his Bible and breaks down in tears for his fallen friend. You know, this really affected Herschel, and it's so sad to watch it. I mean, man, Herschel really cared for this guy. It's so sad, but yeah, you know, there's that. The next morning, Michonne leads the walkers' corpses in a truck, and she and Herschel leave the prison to dispose of them. I guess Herschel kind of wanting to get a getaway from the prison. As Rick and Carl tend to their crops, a man is observing the prison from beyond the gates, and it turns out it is the governor, man. The governor is not done yet. His storyline is not finished. His fate is not sealed in this show. It's crazy. I mean, I kind of expected this. But wow. Yeah, it's a good episode. Critically acclaimed. Scott Wilson did great as Herschel. High praise on that. The action, the resolution of the illness, Herschel's performance, the ending scene with the governor's return was all great. The episode, one of the most stressful episodes of The Walking Dead in Season 4, but also one of its best, with Herschel at the episode's center and the virus at its peak. The stakes were never higher for the survivors at the prison. 9 out of 10 on IGN. You know, obviously IGN gives a lot of positive reviews, but this is even crazy. It was filled with some great walker and machine gun action, but ultimately served as a moment to demonstrate the importance of a balanced approach to both leadership and parenting. I gotta get going, guys. I gotta get to